This Solana situation is out of hand because we very likely have a setup on this chart that can take Solana far beyond its all-time high this week. And I want to break down for you everything that we're seeing here. This is literally probably the most bullish chart in all of crypto right now. And I don't really see that changing. So there's a lot of factors for why that is. So we're going to be diving into that in this video. But obviously, I like to start off with the super short-term stuff, and Solana has just been rallying up really well with Bitcoin, moving up, entering vertical accumulation, and then continuing to pump, and now more vertical accumulation, which is absolutely fantastic. This is what you want to see if a coin is going to be performing very, very well for you. Obviously, Bitcoin's dominance has been rising aggressively over this market as well for the last few weeks, months, and years, yet Solana against Bitcoin is actually pretty much at an all-time high. So this is really important to keep in mind. We're not quite there yet. There is still another 20% to go, but it's minor. It's very minor for Solana at this point. And so this is a really, really interesting chart. If we take a look at this right here, we've got a huge, huge setup of pennants here where Solana forms really nice consolidation, breaks out, really nice consolidation, and breaks out. And one of the things that's really nice about Solana with this breakout situation is that it's happening with these EMAs, right? Look at this EMA ribbon here now, here on the hourly, which has a really nice big spread, which could certainly be supporting Solana to get a little bit higher toward that all-time high at about 260 there. So very, very much has a path to get higher, and it's doing so aggressively. It's looking to get there aggressively. Look at this on the 4-hour time frame, a ton of EMA ribbon support here on this chart, and it hasn't quite caught up to the market right now, but that's actually one of the things that I think is really interesting, because if Solana does take a little bit longer to start breaking out again, then actually that's going to give a really good chance for these EMA lines to kind of catch up to the market and maybe give the market a chance to fall into them. And the reason that that's such a big deal is obviously this is typically how Solana and many other coins do bounce, right? They do tend to bounce when these types of situations come up. So this is going to be particularly interesting from the perspective of this EMA ribbon, and so I'm going to be watching out for that to see how this continues to go for Solana here. And if we do take a look at, potential breakouts, we can kind of measure what we're looking at here with the very first chart that I showed you guys, where Solana basically entered a 70% price range where it entered a downward kind of descending channel. Now, we've been talking about this descending channel for a long time for Solana. Obviously, it's the same pattern that Bitcoin was in, but Solana just did it on a much in a very similar way, actually. I was going to say on a much different time frame, but it's not. It broke out pretty much right when Bitcoin broke out as well. But what makes this stuff really interesting is you can actually just measure the height of these patterns, right? And I haven't drawn it properly, but over here it is drawn properly, and you can see that's a really nice kind of 70% speculative target, and we can just put that at our breakout point, right? We got this downward sloping resistance line, so we can imagine that if Solana breaks this line, 70% above from there would be our target, which puts Solana above $300. Now, I also want to take a look at this from the perspective of its market cap, because I think this is really interesting. And if we take a look at Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin as a market now is worth 1.8 trillion. Gold is worth 18 trillion. So Bitcoin's actually less than 10 times away from gold now, which is very interesting. It's also flipped silver. But if we take this significantly lower and we look right at the bottom of this, right down at the bottom, we got Comcast down here, AT&T, HSBC, a couple of big companies here, Booking.com. These companies are worth about $160 billion each. And if we take a look at Solana here with its market cap, it's now at $113 billion. So if we compare this to the top assets in the world, we're talking, companies, we're talking commodities, we're talking precious metals, we're talking crypto. The market cap of Solana is very, very close to entering the top 100 of everything in the whole world. And even at that, it's still 18 times smaller than Bitcoin. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, because the volume right now, the shit going on with Solana, just on meme coins alone, for example, is astronomical compared to other markets in crypto right now. And so I actually think there's a lot of potential for Solana's market cap to catch up significantly with the majors in this market. Solana's now ranked number 4. I think it can easily be ranked number 2 in this market. So we're going to continue to develop that as we go on in this YouTube video. But as I go on, I want you guys to know that there are huge bonuses available too if you want to trade if you want to trade Solana, with the links in the description. Blowfin's obviously going to be one of your best options. It's a great alternative to Bybit. Bybit's the best in the game, but Blowfin's a great alternative. But what makes Blowfin especially powerful is the fact that they're giving you aggressive bonuses. When you start trading using Blowfin, if you want to trade Solana, whatever you like, they're going to give you free money to trade Solana, any other token with, and any profits that you generate with that money are going to be yours to keep, which is a super powerful package. Bybit does the same thing. All of this is after you deposit and start trading. They're going to give you these bonuses. So well worth checking out if you want to throw some kind of risk into the market, especially if the risk is not going to be yours. You don't stand to lose anything, but you do stand to gain, which is really cool. Only worth checking out if you're allowed to, if you're not from a restricted region. That's really important, because if you are from a restricted region, you're not going to be allowed to use these platforms. But Solana here, if we take a look at this breakout here, I mean, it's doing absolutely beautifully. Just look at how powerfully it's been moving up here from this potential breakout point. If we kind of measure it, we're already up by about 36%. So there's, a good stretch left that this market could be going if it's heading up to that kind of $315 price range. And again, if we take a look at this very, very zoomed out, this is a chart which has reached its all-time high. It's right there. There's no more resistance between Solana now and its all-time high, so it's literally just intraday price action that we're watching, which is why I think we're in vertical accumulation right now. Like, there's no reason for this market to stop or slow down right now, which rightfully I think is why it isn't stopping or slowing down right now. And I think that's what makes this all the more interesting in terms of some potential pumps. Now, I do want to balance this video out a little bit, though, and talk about what might happen if the market does end up dropping, because from here, we have been regularly finding resistance at about $244 where we are right now. And the thing is that if this market does end up dropping, there is a huge, beautiful zone of support waiting for Solana at about $220. Now, I say huge, it's not actually that big. I shouldn't say that it's huge, but it is something. It's the best that Solana has, most crucially, on this chart. You see, Solana's been moving up very, very aggressively, and so it hasn't really had an amazing set of chances to establish support or resistance on the way up. But this is a level that does stretch back with some significance, right? I don't want to, bang on about this level too much and give it too much credit, because it doesn't deserve too much credit. But there is some stuff going on here from its previous market cycle, and there's definitely some stuff going on here from right now. And so if Solana does end up dropping, it could be looking to capture a little bit of support before continuing to move on higher. And that's going to make this $220 zone another potentially interesting zone to be taking up some longs on Solana. Like I said, I think right here is pretty good too. Obviously, just with a stop loss maybe below this recent low at 2.6%. Super well-controlled risk, lots of upside. Obviously, I would want even better entries than all of this. I might even put my stop loss a little bit lower, like 229, but no matter how you play this, it is looking really, really good right now. And like I said, that's going to be tradable with free money on Blowfin here, linked in the description. All you've got to do is deposit and start trading, and then they're going to give you more money for free that you can trade with if you're not from a restricted region. Of course, if you are, you won't be able to use these platforms by law. But really cool stuff there for Solana if it does end up dropping, because it does produce this really nice setup here with a 4 risk to reward ratio, the way I've got this drawn out, right back up to the same highs, 10% upside, 3% downside. I mean, this is easily a 6x leverage trade, 60% profit on the upside. Really, really nice stuff. Obviously, the targets are much higher than this, right? I'm not going to be, closing this trade at 244. I'm probably actually going to be interested in keeping this trade open significantly higher, maybe toward 300 and even more. So the upside potential becomes a lot more interesting if it does end up breaking out. And obviously, I wouldn't take this trade if I didn't think it was going to break out. So, the idea of Solana breaking out is a primary consideration for this trade. Now, taking a look at Solana against the dollar here, with a very long-term view, we do have EMA support quite far away. It's actually, I shouldn't say it's too far away. It's relatively close by. It's at about $204. If this does end up continuing to move up aggressively, we're going to see some significant EMA support on the daily starting to line up with Solana here, which is absolutely fantastic, because it does mean that if Solana ends up falling, it could be just falling into a really nice big zone of support, a really nice big cushion for it. And then if we take a look at this descending channel itself for Solana, this is a kind of path of how I'd like to see Solana deal with it. First of all, zooming in, really nice up and close and personal. It's a 70% range here from the point that we got the support and resistance both being hit. So I'm counting this as a 70% range. So that gives me that speculative target of about 70% to $315. Now, what I think is really interesting, though, is that if Solana comes back down, look at this on the daily time frame. We got this huge daily Ichimoku cloud lining up with mid to late December right now, for some potential support around this kind of $180 price zone. And so if Solana can come back down here, penetrate through a bunch of its support levels, but come down here to a really big zone of support, this is where I think Solana gets really interesting for some potential trades as well, because it lines up with a lot of previous resistance and some new support from various different unrelated tools and indicators. So I think this could be a really big deal for Solana, especially if it comes down quickly. If it starts dropping quickly, it's going to be even better, in my opinion. So that's going to be something I'm really interested in. But looking at the Bitcoin chart here, this is one of the things that just ties it all together, makes Solana so damn bullish in my opinion. It's the fact that Solana has now been in, basically an 11-month or less, I don't know, 9 to 11-month range here, where it's just been in a very bullish consolidation against Bitcoin. And, when consolidation lasts this long, you can definitely reasonably start casting shade on it and saying that actually, if it's been going on for this long, then, we really should have broken out by now. And if we haven't, it probably means we're not going to break out. I would understand you if you say that, because you'd actually be correct if you're looking at coins like XRP as well, because they don't tend to perform very well for a very, very long time. But unlike XRP, where XRP might pump but probably will struggle to hold on to it, Solana against Bitcoin here, I think could be doing a hell of a lot better. It's in a really, really bullish situation right now. It's facing resistance right now against this Bitcoin chart. And if it does end up breaking out against Bitcoin, that's going to be a potential 67% move if we extrapolate this target, or 47% up to these highs. And what makes this really, really interesting is that is free Bitcoin, right? You put in a Bitcoin over here, you walk out with 1.5 over here. And if Bitcoin's worth 100K, you do the fucking math. You're making an extra 50K for nothing, for free, which is really, really cool indeed. And so I think that the Solana Bitcoin chart is one of the more interesting things about this whole situation for me, because if Solana can gain against Bitcoin, and especially seeing that it's performed so well against Bitcoin so far, that is what makes it conclusively an interesting pick above everything else in the market, in my opinion, right? I mean, if you're not outperforming Bitcoin, then there's no point really being in the altcoin market, because there's so much risk you're taking. But with Solana, that situation I think is tied up a lot better. It's a lot more reasonable the way this chart is looking right now. So I'm definitely liking the look of that. And then of course, just taking another look at the Solana Bitcoin chart, that's going to be the all-time high for Solana, about 47% away from current price. So again, just so close to seeing Solana break out and just do absolutely incredibly well against Bitcoin here. And so long-term potential-wise, I think it's looking great. We're going to continue to make videos about Solana, including live streams as well, as it continues to move. So if you like this stuff, then make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on this very time-sensitive content. Obviously, while you're down there are the huge free capital offers where you can just get trading and they're going to give you more free money. So check that out if you're allowed to. And if you're also interested, we've got a very exclusive, expensive, serious 12-week program where you can work directly one-to-one with me, which has had amazing results so far. And if you want to get some information about it, if you want to get inside, if you feel like you're the kind of serious person that's going to be interested in this kind of package, then please reach out using this link on screen right now. It's a direct contact link to me, where I can send you that information directly right after this video. So well worth checking out if you want to get a little bit more. But if not, ladies and gents, it's been a great video. Thank you all for tuning in. There's a ton more that I'm going to be giving you just on Solana and on other coins and on Bitcoin as well. So stay tuned for all of that if you are interested. And I'm going to see you all in the next one. Cheers.